Oh, great, Lorelei. Yeah. So glad you can join us and learn a little bit more. Cool.
Prepared.
I know. That's exciting. Okay. About one more minute, maybe 30 seconds instead, and then we'll get started. I believe this is already getting recorded. Yeah, there's the button. Okay, it is 12:10, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Rachel Davis. I am a Gateways horticulturist at the Arboretum and Public Garden. Today we are kind of the kickoff of the Spring Nature RX series. We are going to be talking about nature science and your smartphone. This is all about community science, and you may have heard it as citizen science, but we, as well as a bunch of other organizations, are kind of changing that terminology around, and we're calling it community science, because you don't have to be a citizen of any particular place in order to participate in this kind of really cool scientific observations. So community science is this really great opportunity to work with other naturalists to see all the crazy cool biodiversity around you. We'll talk about the iNaturalist app a little bit. That's one way that you can contribute. So let's get started. Okay. So kind of the biggest message today is just get outside, which some of you may already be doing, but it's all about taking a closer look. So I know that sometimes when I'm working remotely all day, I'm like, okay, my outside time is going to be a 20-minute walk. I'm going to get 5,000 steps, go. And even when I'm in the garden, it's like, I am very task oriented. It's hard to just kind of pause. And again, even with a hike, if there's a big summit, I want to get there first to kind of challenge myself in that way. However, this challenge is a little different. It's about being really present and being able to notice everything around you. So even in a little garden plot like this right here, if you sit there a little bit and take a closer look, you can see a ton of different cool species, using the environment for different reasons, different purposes. And I think being part of community science will help you be able to see more of what's going on around you and really appreciate it more. And also just being less task oriented can help you really relax in nature a little bit more too. So iNaturalist, this is an app as well as a website. Anyone, anywhere can do it. It's very easy. All you need is a camera. So today we're kind of talking about smartphone. It is like an easy way to, bring that out into your garden or on your walk, but using a camera, a point and shoot is helpful as well if you have that available to you. You can create a huge observation set about local habitats this way. So in that way, you get to know the who's and what's in your home gardens, local parks, neighborhoods, natural areas. And again, there's tons of biodiversity all around you if you're able to look and pause and participate. So getting started, some of you have already done this, which is exciting. You can download the app or visit the iNaturalist website. You can create your account using either your personal or UC Davis email address and start adding observations. I've used my work one because I'm curating some projects on this, but you can use whichever one is best for you. So you can take individual observations, like each one of these photos can be an observation, but you can also join iNaturalist projects with a group of naturalists focusing on, very specific things. So I focus a lot on pollinators. So I'm involved with a lot of groups that collect that kind of data, or California specific. So yeah, it ranges from observing a single species, a group of animals, even sometimes it's on specific areas. So we have some UC Davis campus projects, but there's also national and worldwide projects as well. So what to observe? We're looking for everything that's happening in our environment. So pretty much anything can be added as an observation. And if you're not really sure what's out there and you're just starting, look for species interactions. So you can look for holes on leaves, scratches on bark, a bee visiting a flower. Even this picture to the right, that is a rose bush that has all these really interesting kind of pieces cut out of them. This is one of my favorite ones to find in the garden. These are actually leaf cutter bees who are gathering material for their nest. So these are native bees, and this is how they kind of build up their nest with these really nice, thin, kind of glossy leaves. So it isn't killing the plants or anything. I think it kind of looks cool, but some people worry when they see some of this stuff. But that is an indicator that, ooh, maybe I should be on the lookout for leafcutter bees in this area. Looking at the ground is actually a really cool place to find things too. You can spot roly-polies. Those are still important observations. Lizards kind of rest amongst the leaf litter. Other native bees can nest in soft ground. So if there's a sandy patch somewhere, you might be able to see some of these holes. There's a photo down here with this little bee. She is provisioning that ground nest. So be on the lookout for details on the ground as well. Also, just remember to take photos of maybe some less charismatic species. You know, birds are kind of the highlight, right? It's so easy to see them. It's fun to watch them. But I encourage you to also kind of look at things like spiders and beetles. Sometimes they might be like, gross, but they're actually super important even to the environment and ecosystems, controlling pests and eating decomposed material or decomposing them as those materials. So sometimes they are hidden. They try and blend in to some of these flowers. So as much as I look for pollinators, it's really fun to find some of these other insects visiting as well. Couple observation tips, because especially when you get started, it's like, yeah, how do I look for specific things? So I'd say just wander around your backyard, neighborhood, or natural area. And I emphasize wander, again, because sometimes I'm task oriented or I have a specific goal, but I'd say maybe sit in a different part of your garden or, you know, respect trails when you're out on natural areas, but like be curious. If you hear a rustling in the leaves over to the side, maybe go check it out. Really just take some time to observe your environment, look at different things you wouldn't normally look at. Spend that time doing it. When you find a good place, just stay there. At least 10 minutes just to practice. Sometimes it takes half an hour to get a good observation, but just see what visits that area or that specific plant if that's what you're doing. Even this example to the right of the screen, this is narrowleaf milkweed, super important native plant. It is host plant to our beautiful monarch butterfly down here, but it also is really great at providing nectar for all types of pollinators. A lot of other bugs eat the seeds that eventually ripen on this plant. You can see this spider hanging out at the top because this plant attracts so many different things. It's kind of a sit and wait predator. So if something visits, it can grab it really quickly. So it attracts a lot of different things, and it's fun to see how many different species you can even get on one plant. And that is a situation where you just sit there and watch. But also it's good to check back throughout the seasons because different things happen throughout the season. So I encourage that as well. If you find that you really like taking photos and getting observations of a certain animal or a certain type of plant, but for animals, you can add the plant that it is interacting with. So you can either add another observation with the same photo or take a new one. So for this picture with the monarch and the milkweed, you can do one observation that is, you label it observation of a monarch. And then you can re-upload the same photo and call it milkweed. And so that way you'll get data for both things, where both things are. Different projects can use those for different purposes. So you can either do that or just add a note on your initial monarch observation that you saw it on a milkweed. Or if you want to get scientific, Asclepius fascicularis. So when you upload your photo, especially when you're using your smartphone, a lot of that data should stay with it, the date, the time. You can be either general or specific with your location. I know that when I'm taking a lot of observations in my own yard, I don't really want people to see this is where I live. So instead, I manually enter my city. And that's still good information for people needing to use those observations for research or just science in general. Otherwise, I make sure I put a very specific location if I'm in a natural area. You can add extra notes to your observation. One thing I wanted to note is that you should mark it if it is captive or cultivated. In other words, put there by people. So garden plants should be marked as cultivated on your observations. When you're looking at plants and adding plants as observations, the best scientific plant observations will be in the wild. However, all animals are essentially wild. So even if this monarch picture was on in a garden that I planted that milkweed, that monarch would still be considered wild, not captive. Okay. So again, I kind of emphasize bugs and plants because plants are my first love, but I just wanted to give a couple different tips on different types of animals. So for birds, it's another situation where I just stay in place and observe. If you have backyard feeders or bird baths or in a natural area or near a water, a place with water, those are really great places to find them because they sit still for at least a minute. Look out for eggshells nesting nearby. And pretty much for every tip, it's be sneaky. You want to be quiet, don't make a lot of noise. For smaller animals, you don't want your shadow to kind of pass over where they're resting or where they are in general. That might startle them. I kind of try to wear neutral clothing. One day I went out with black and white stripes and I didn't get anything. So that's a factor too. So be sneaky, be part of the environment. Herps, so those are amphibians and reptiles. Again, stay still or be sneaky. For reptiles, look for sunny locations since they are cold-blooded. When it starts to warm up, they'll come like sit on this rock like these lizards and sun, and they sit still for a while when they're warming up. Amphibians look near water, ponds, man-made lakes, seasonal ponds, pretty essential for their survival, being near water. Mammals. They are most active at dawn and dusk. So if you're an early bird or if you really want to get out for that walk after work or closer in the evening, those are great times to kind of look for those mammals. And they may be more curious than other animals. And they might not be as startled by you, but still try and be a little sneaky. Okay, so let's actually go look at the website. Give a few tips on setting things up and what it looks like. So this is my profile. Once you start your account, you can set this up. So I have my profile just as one of my photos, but you can put your face on there if you want. That was just my personal choice. It shows when you've joined, last active, and I just put a little blurb in there as to like why I wanted to join and maybe if I specialize in anything specific, because other people can maybe seek you out, or you can help the community in that way. And I'm following a variety of people. Some are specialized in butterflies and bees. Lacey Gerhardt's a faculty here. She does a lot of iNaturalist observations with her students. I have some home gardeners in here. So everybody kind of helps me with ID, or I get to see what they're seeing. It's really fun to check in on some of these people. Right here, it kind of shows how many observations you have, the amount of species you've collected. So just kind of everything that you've been doing there. Right up top, you can go, once you start building your observations, this is what it'll look like. And again, I don't have as many observations as a lot of diehard iNaturalists because it's really hard to get some of these photos that are good quality enough to post for my insects. But yeah, it's really fun to find a lot of cool biodiversity locally, and most of these are in our county. But you can see some of these are research grade. So that's what you want for each of your observations. I oftentimes don't know what I'm taking a photo of, and that's one of the benefits of iNaturalist. You can even just take a picture of a plant and call it a plant, and someone else can come in and be like giving you the species of that. Bugs can be a little harder, but that's also why I follow specific entomologists so they can help me out. So even for this observation here, takes a little while to load. Here is the photo of it. This was in my backyard. I've been learning a lot about insects. I realized this one was a fly. I figured it was maybe a flower fly. And when you upload your photo, iNaturalist can help you with the ID too. It'll give you several suggestions. It can read your photo and be like, I think this is a drone fly. So that's how I got this initial guess right here. And then these two, Idenko and Matthew Vosper, they know these species really well. And so they helped me ID it. And even if you can see right here, Idenko even put a field guide onto how to ID them. So really helping me get to know it myself. Again, this is a community. Everybody's here to help you. And even if I wanted to specialize in this type of fly, you can go down here, top identifiers of yellow-shouldered dronefly. You can even start following some of these people because they're helping to identify, and they're collecting observations of these as well. So really cool way to kind of build up specific species too. And then I mentioned projects. So these are all of my individual observations. But up here in the community, you can join a lot of different projects. I'm going to highlight one that I am working on with my student team. We're calling it habitat horticulture, but again, I focus on pollinators, right? And so all of these are different types of animals that have visited the flowers, specifically in our gardens. And on this project, you can see we have 610 observations, 108 species, and 49 people have been helping us find observations for this. And here's the map of all the different observations. It's primarily kind of concentrated in this area. And it's just really fun to see everybody working together to get all these really fun photos. And most people, at least the students, use their smartphones, but we do have some contributors who use point and shoots. So some of these bumblebee photos, this is one of our all-star students. She's able to use a point and shoot. camera to get really cool detail on that bumblebee. So there's still great opportunities with your phone, but you can do either or. So I encourage you to join, you know, some really cool projects, and just really look around the website. There's so many cool resources that you can find. So thinking about the photos and like, oh, that bumblebee photo was amazing, but it was a point and shoot. How am I going to do this with my smartphone? It is harder, I will say, for birds with your smartphone because they often far away and you can't always see all the details you need. But in general, your observations should show like the whole body of the species. So even body as in if it's a plant, if it's a big shrub or tree, kind of step back, take a photo of the whole thing. But then also for one observation, you can have many photos. So you can have one of the whole plant or animal. And then if you can come in and get a closer photo of the flower, you know, or of the ears, whatever you're looking at. So yeah, lots of different angles as well, because sometimes there's a key characteristic that you don't know, that someone who knows that species really well can be like, ah, yes, that means it's this species. So lots of angles is really good. And your photo doesn't have to be professional grade like National Geographic or anything, but just make sure it's not too blurry that you can't see some of these specific details. So here's an example of just capturing scale for your observations with some plants. So, you know, a little further back of the full plant, even showing kind of what kind of environment it's on can actually be helpful too for IDing. And then a close-up of the flower for both of these two photos. And this flower of the warrior's plume, that is just using my normal phone camera. However, if you want to purchase, you can get clip-on macro lenses for your phones, and I love mine. That's what I did with this Indian paintbrush. So you can see a little bit more detail on the flower. So I recommend getting that too. Okay, so the importance of angles. I was watching these flowers. I saw that it attracted a ton of different bees. So I was just there taking lots of photos as it's crawling around on this flower. And I didn't know this at the time, but this photo on the right had a very key characteristic that is really important to get it to species. So right there, I don't know if you can see it. So this is the head, the thorax right here, and then the abdomen. But on the thorax, I don't know if you can see, 2 eyes and a smiley face right there. Yes, so that is a very key characteristic, and that's exactly what I needed to get someone to help me to get this to species. So multiple angles are very important. Okay, so you can make all type of impacts contributing to community science. I mean, I could go on and on about that. Some of the things that I've been able to do personally, I found this flower right here on the right while I was out in the field, out taking hikes, and it was kind of on the side of the road where we parked, and it turns out it is a rare species that needs protection. So if you capture that observation and post it, actually we can go there. It will say once you get it to species if it is a rare or listed species. So right, so here we have the research grade, which is awesome. But here you can see that it has conservation status of 1B in California. It is a seriously threatened in California. So I was also able to upload this to CalFlora, which is kind of a database of native California plants, and have this be a photo for reference, a new one. So that was really exciting. You can join projects that impact your local community. I specialize in pollinators, and that's really important for our local agricultural area. So that's how I feel like I'm making an impact here locally. And you don't have to use iNaturalist. There's plenty of other community science projects like Bumblebee Watch. It's separate from iNaturalist, but you can check out and there's a lot for monarchs. So whatever you're interested in, go ahead and join those. They have a few different ways of collecting that data. But also you can start a project of your own, especially if you get started and you find like, I'm really interested in this. And, you can have the whole family join. Like this is pretty easy to learn. And once you get the hang of it, I was going to mention it later, but there's the Seek app. SEEK, that is associated with iNaturalist, and it's much more kid friendly. You can just point your camera at something and it'll try and name it for you right there. And you also get badges for all the different types of plants and animals that you find. It's really fun. So I encourage you to do that as well. And just here's some examples of projects you can join so that are local. So if you're on campus or, that's where you walk the Arboretum, you can add observations to UC Davis Arboretum Biodiversity. There are a lot of ducks and squirrels on this project, but that's one of them. And sorry, it's taking so long to load. So this is what this one will look like. We have over 5,000 observations. So you can be contributing to a lot of really cool stuff here. You can see, look at this map. Lots and lots of fun observations just in the Arboretum. So if you are there lots, go ahead and add to that. If you're over at Stebbins, you want to be in more natural area, they have a project too. But one that I would like to highlight today, and we actually have a really good timing, is the City Nature Challenge. This is kind of more of a competition, and it is a really great way to get started because lots of different cities from all over the world are participating in it, and it starts today. So I am going to play a little video for you about what this is. It's starting today till May 3rd.
Welcome to the 2021 City Nature Challenge. Now more than ever, we need to study nature in cities around the globe. We can't fully protect nature on this planet without studying what is living in cities. Help us by joining the over 350 cities worldwide, as some compete and some collaborate to see how many wildlife observations we can gather together. Using cameras and smartphones, tens of thousands of people will take pictures or record sounds of wildlife in their home cities, all contributing to an international database of urban wildlife that will be used by scientists and naturalists to help understand nature in our cities and work to make them better places for humans and wildlife to live. Just imagine how many observations we can make, all working together. Go to citynaturechallenge.org to see if you're in one of the cities taking part between April 30th and May 3rd. Then take pictures of wildlife and upload them to our global database using iNaturalist or your city's preferred platform. Watch as experts all over the world help to identify your observations. Join the 2021 City Nature Challenge or follow along and see how we work together to change the world.
All right. Yeah, I am super excited for this opportunity. For everyone to jump on, participate. yeah, we can have this time right now just for open questions. I know you've been asking some in the chat. I do want to just share a few resources. I might be adding these to the chat after I stop sharing screen. But if you want more information on how to even build an account, start it, what you can work with, we have some other YouTube videos on the Arboretum Public Garden YouTube channel. There's that Bumblebee Watch link, and I just put the Seek app there as well. So I am going to stop sharing and open it up to any questions you may have.
So Laura Lee had a question
about
how do you get a research grade observation? Like, what has to happen for it to become research grade?
Yeah. So, you know, so initially iNaturalist will like give you a suggestion if you don't already know what it is. And what you need is at least one person identifying it to species. So we need like the genus and the species. So with that milkweed, that's Asclepius fascicularis. If you have another person come in who says, oh yes, I agree, then it can be research grade. If you get it down to, you know, I know that that was a drone fly, and like even 5 people say, yeah, it's a drone fly, but they can't get it down to species. You can't get it to research grade. So yeah, it's getting it to species and having people agree with you. And that's why you need to build this network. Some people are just on the lookout for whoever, you know, gets an observation of a sweat bee. They'll just be alerted of it, I think, and they'll go and find it, or they'll check all the observations for that species and help. But yeah, casual to research is when you get down to the species.
Thanks, Rachel. And then another question was, can you maybe demonstrate or give instructions about putting multiple pictures for one observation?
Yeah.
Instead of uploading different observations.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I should. I don't have anything prepared to upload right now, but I will say from your phone, when you're uploading it, you can select the one main photo that you want shown, like the first one, and then add it to your observation. And on your phone, there should be like a camera icon, and you can select that and it'll say pick more files, and you can just pick more photos and add as many as you want on the app. If you just upload it on your desktop on the web browser, I would create your initial observation with your one primary photo, save it, and go back and add more photos to that, because I still haven't gotten, there might be a different way to do it. That's the way I found. And just in general, it's easier to do it from my phone. But yeah, there's a little camera icon to add photos. And even if you save it, you can edit a lot of details too. And if some reason you find out what the species is before anyone else is, you can change that as well. Yeah.
Nice. So we have another question.
Okay.
If you were in the Arboretum, is most everything cultivated or naturally there, and how can you tell?
So we consider everything in the Arboretum cultivated because we have either directly put things there or they've kind of seeded out from our impact. It might be a little different in the reserve. So on main campus, I'd say in the official Arboretum and on main campus, we're going to consider all of those cultivated. However, it's kind of up for debate on like restoration areas or places like the reserve. I think when I've done restoration areas, I might have put it as cultivated because we did plant it there.
And you're talking about plants, right? You made that distinction between plants and then wildlife.
Yes, wildlife is pretty much all wild.
Unless
I
it's
mean,
like your cat.
yes, exactly. We did a naturing at home during this past year, just for, what people are seeing on, like, directly in their house and on their walks, because it was hard to get out. And some people did take photos of their pets, or like the feral cats in the neighborhood. So, which could be really interesting information, actually, like how many feral cats are in my neighborhood, and what does that mean for maybe our local birds. Yeah. Yeah, so that's why, for all of those arboretum observations, they're of the actual, like, insect or bug interacting with our plants.
Perfect. And then we have another question. This is a great one. We're talking about joining a challenge or a project within
Yes.
iNaturalist.
Yes.
What does it mean when you're part of that project? And does it mean that all of your posts will automatically be associated with that challenge?
Yeah, that's a good question that I didn't really get to talk about too much yet. So it depends. There's a lot of different types of projects. So we started one, again, it's called Naturing at Home. And it was pretty much any photo that you took goes into the project. But that was the settings for that project, because we just wanted to see where people were, what they were seeing, like, overall. However, some of them required that you add more data to it. So one of the ones that I'm on, it's about, of course, pollinators, California pollinators. And I can't upload my observation of that, like, monarch, unless I write what plant it visited, what California native plant was it interacting with. So you have to put the name of the plant in there in order for it to be uploaded to that project. So some of them have specific extra data that you need to add, because that's just what they're looking for. Sometimes you have to put information on if it's a male or a female of that species, or yeah, and it should tell you in the description of the project, like, what are the requirements. So there's just a really big, broad, like, requirements. But for the City Nature Challenge, it's pretty much, I think it's open to everything. So during that one is just for a specific time. So it's like a bio blitz, which are super fun. It's whatever you see within this amount of time, that's for that project. So sometimes it's, like I said, species based or place based, but like City Nature Challenges, just for that time frame, what's everything that you see.
Yeah, and I would add, if you're new to iNaturalist, sometimes you don't have to do anything to be for people to pick up your observations and be like,
Yes.
oh, that's valuable to my project. So I saw a bat once in the arboretum. I was very excited because it was sleeping and it was staying still. And so I was able to get a good picture of it. And I was like, I don't know what kind of bat this is, but this is cool. And so I put it on iNaturalist. And that was all the information I had. Like, it's a bat and it's here. And I haven't friended anybody. I didn't have a network yet, but other people saw it. Other experts saw it and said, I know what that is. That's a Western red bat. And once enough people who knew what they were talking about, and they have like sort of a status, like, within iNaturalist, once they've made so many observations.
Yes.
They said, yeah, that's a Western red bat. So it became research grade. I didn't do anything except post, like, this is a bat. And now, let's see, it's been picked up by 6 projects.
Awesome.
Not by my doing. Like, these other projects, the Cal Bats, the Global Bat Watch, California Mammals of North America, they have all were like, ooh, bat observation, and it's part of their project, and I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
So
that can totally happen, and that's awesome. I know, I love bats. I haven't gotten an observation yet, so I'm a little jealous. Cool. Yeah. So it's just super easy to start. And like all these people are here to help everyone just really enjoy the outside. And you know, as much as this is for NatureRx, and it's like, oh, let's be calm and and like practice self-care while we're in nature, sometimes it can get a little competitive. I'm not gonna lie about that. Any other questions that we have?
You know, a question came up about sort of the interaction between the Seek app and the iNaturalist app. If you post on Seek,
yes,
and then or you post on both, and then it's identified on iNaturalist, can you pull the species ID from iNaturalist back into Seek?
So it's more like if you use Seek and it IDs it that way, it shows you what it is, and you can decide whether or not to upload it to your iNaturalist. So if you want to use Seek, it's better to use that in that way, and it is the option to go to your like larger observation set in iNaturalist.
Okay, so it's connected to
it's connected. Yeah, it's just kind of like an offshoot of iNaturalist, so you can connect it into your main iNaturalist.
And the purpose of Seek in some ways is to like help you ID things?
Yeah, it's like quicker. So it's like you're pointing your camera at something, and it like thinks, it goes through the processing of your image, and it's like, okay, it's this. And then sometimes it tells you, oh, move around a little bit so we can get more data. Like if you only were on a leaf, it'll be like move around. And if you go to the flower, it'll be like, oh, it's this. And then you can take that photo, and it will give you the option to upload it onto your iNaturalist observations.
Cool.
And again, it's super fun because you can get badges. I haven't used it as much. I primarily just go the iNaturalist route, but like if you get like a bird, a butterfly, all this, you get a badge for like hitting cool marks with your observations. So yeah, super fun with a family too. And in that way, kind of competitive.
Nice.
Yeah. A lot of people get pretty competitive for this City Nature Challenge. I think the Bay Area has been winning. It's like the Bay Area and LA seem to be the ones who won it, but Sacramento's gotten close in some years. So it's pretty fun. And again, like everyone, like a big community is doing this one project. So everyone's going to be looking at each other's observations and helping them ID. That's why it's a good time to get on and do that.
Yeah, I like that it's sort of this like social network for nature nerds.
It is.
Like, and you don't know any of these folks. I mean, I know, you know, so you can follow people, which I love.
Yes.
Right. So I can be, you know, I get little, you can set your notifications, but you know, Rachel, if she observes something that I also want to see, I can see, oh, like she saw that yesterday in this spot. Maybe I'll go over there and like see if I can see it too. Because a lot of these things are migratory or seasonal, so it can, you know, you can be intentional about wanting to see things, or you can learn new species by seeing what other people are seeing around you.
Exactly. And it is cool the type of people who help you. Like I had a student who was at his family's property, and he was just in the fields checking on some things, and he got this random beetle that was kind of blending into the dirt, and he took it and he's like, I don't know what this is. So he just put it up there as a beetle, and a researcher in Germany knew it, and it ended up being like this rare beetle that is native, and like he knew it because he specializes in Coleoptera, which are beetles. So that was fun. And I upload a lot of bees, and there's a researcher in Singapore who has helped me on like all my hard ones, and it's just awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I also agree that it's you were talking about being a task-oriented person, and
yes,
it's hard to just like saunter and go on a chill walk. Even though like that's really great for your like mental, physical, and emotional health, like to give yourself that time. And I feel like with iNaturalist, in some ways it gives you like a purpose, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going for a walk and I'm going to make some observations, but it can be like a really relaxing, I'm just wandering and I'm looking and listening, and if I see something, and I'll just take a little picture of it. Or it does, if you're saying the way you suggested, sitting down in one spot and just watching a particular plant with the ground for a little while, like that's kind of a nice way to be like, all right, I'm gonna take a few minutes. I'm just gonna sit here, and it's hard for me just to like sit there for 10 minutes, but I'm like, I'm sitting there and I'm making observations.
Yes. And it's amazing how much you can like observe and like realize that's around you. And like observe even behaviors. You're not going to capture that behavior on your phone necessarily as a photo, but like, okay, but that'll help you like seek out maybe that bird later on. You're like, oh, I noticed that it loves this tree, or it's here. I have a squirrel that jumps on my roof at like 9 a.m. every day. Like I can hear it jump from the tree to my roof. I'm like, okay, there he is. I know the route. Then it goes on the fence. Like, it's really fun, actually.
Yeah, it's also such a great way to get to know your local flora and fauna. You just, makes you a little bit more in touch.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's actually, we have a bunch of kids in the neighborhood, and whenever I'm like outside, if I am like waiting for an observation, they come by and look with me too. And I have to be like, be sneaky, or else they're like, hey, what are you doing?
That's so
But
fun.
yeah, it's fun to show young naturalists too, for sure.
Yeah, and get them hooked at an early age.
It's true. Cool. Well, oh, there we go. Hi, yes, thank you for joining us today. Cool. Yes, and Nina will be presenting next week. And it definitely builds upon what we've learned today. I don't know if Nina, you want to give a little preview for next week?
Sure. We're going to be talking about wildlife in the Arboretum. So what you're likely to see, where to see certain things, it's kind of some tips and tricks for your next wander through the UC Davis Arboretum. And certainly if you bring your phone or your camera and you make some iNaturalist observations, that would be a double bonus.
Yes.
As you're walking through the Arboretum. We'll
add them to our project.
Exactly. So yeah, that's coming up next week, is what you're likely to see and where in the UC Davis Arboretum.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, great to be here with you all, and both of us. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, and you know where to find us at UC Davis. You can look us up if you want to be in touch, or you can follow Rachel on iNaturalist and see what she's been observing. Me too, actually.
Yeah.
So thank you, and I hope you all get to spend some time outside.